Hello and welcome to Viewer Exclusive, the program where we analyze critical issues concerning the nation and concerning us. Now, in the past week, there have been some matters of concern in the nation, matters like the discrepancies in the judgments passed in the Kanu Elections Tribunal. Comments like former President Olusegun Obasanjo having his own views on the kind of democracy that Nigerians or Nigeria should practice, and a lot of other matters that have been arising in the nation. And I'll be joined by an analyst later on the show to give us his views, give us analysis, and give recommendations to the nation with the hope that they're here and they're listening. My name is Chinon, so check us. Join me again right after the break. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Viewer Exclusive. Now we're going to be delving right into the conversation, and joining me now live in the studio to help us make sense of some critical matters that are ongoing in the nation as much as we can exhaust in this time is Mr. Ernest Ogbebor, an accountant and a business coach. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for having me.
Very good to have you. Very good to have you again. So let's go straight into the matters. A lot of matters that we'll have to get your views and help us to make sense of these things, if at all there is any sense in them. Let's begin by asking what your views are on a certain matter, the elections, the general elections, the PDP's candidate for the past general elections in person of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar He has been making a lot of speeches, but one that has caught the attention of Nigerians and other party members has been him asking for a coalition of other parties in order that we not have a one-party state of affairs in the nation. So we don't even know whether he's asking for a coalition or he's asking for a merger of all these parties. So help us make sense of what your take is on that. And are we actually moving on towards having a one-party system in the nation?
Thank you for having me. But trying to make sense of what is going on in our polity is a challenge of its own. Atiku Abubakar calling for sort of a working agreement with other opposition political parties. For him, it is so that you prevent the APC from becoming the only party. I want to recall also that when PDP was in power between 1999 and 2015, it was the same rhetoric that we're hearing from those who were in opposition then, who are now in power, saying that the PDP was working on turning the political space into a one-party state. Why do they keep repeating that? It is because of the nature of politics and the politicians we have in Nigeria. They are what you call any government in power. Ajib. So those professional politicians, I like to call them, have no ideology. They have no personal moral standard as per where they just go anywhere and everywhere that there is power, and with power comes money, influence, and all of that. So they all gravitate towards that power, and whoever is holding that power becomes their immediate personal person, as it, to put it that way. So what you see is, because they don't have ideology, because there is not even any ideological difference between the parties, they move from one to the other. Some of them, we don't know where they belong right now. You don't know whether they are in PDP or APC or Labour or anywhere. They are just everywhere and all of that. So they come with this cliche that seems to draw some people who are not very discerning. I use that in a loose sense to get those kind of people to buy into their agenda. All in all, it's just a selfish move. I can tell you that it is not possible, and it can't happen, that Nigeria will become a one-party state, because there are still some people who have some bit of that same ideological persuasion that we talk about. There are still some people who cannot join any government in power. They believe in people? What? Yes, we do. We do. They may not. They are always mostly not in power.
Exactly.
But they don't depend on power for their sustenance, for them to live. So they can stay. They can stay with what they believe in, and say what they want to say, not because it will please somebody in power. We have them. We have a few of them. They may not be in the majority among the elite, but I know we still have them.
My thinking is that if we have those people and they are not in power and they don't have quest for power, we may actually be moving into the one party state thing. But that aside, my thinking also is that I was of a concern that ideologies may clash, right? Political ideologies may clash if we have coalition of parties. But I think you have nullified that, because it's almost obvious that we don't even have, our parties do not have ideologies. They are not run by ideologies. But let's talk about numbers now. If it is about them being run by numbers, is that anything to go by if we have these other parties merge? Because we know that the current president in power won by about 8 million, and if we had the NNPP, the Labour Party, and PDP come together, and if they had gotten all those votes at one party, they may have. So is it just about the numbers, or we should actually even be concerned that apart from the numbers, we should actually be thinking of ideologies? And if these parties do not have ideologies, then what's the way forward? It means any party can go.
Okay, you have said a lot of things, and it's okay. Let me try to pick them and just express my opinion on them one by one. Number one, this idea of let's come together and take over power is the reason why in 2013-2014, when the idea of APC came up, and you found the then ANPP, CPC, ACN or ACN, and a fashion of APGA, they all came together and formed the APC. I saw it as a coalition of strange bedfellows, and I just knew that there was no way they were going to mix. See, today, 8 years, 9 years down the road, we can still pick these individual parties as it were then, you can still pick them from the APC today. You can identify the ACN
the
bloc,
APC.
you can identify the CPC bloc, you can identify all the other bloc. Now, okay, so you can also see that the CPC people have done their own 8 years with Buhari as their leader. Now they have handed over to the ACN part of it. ACN is taking over all the part, even though they all claim to be APC. In itself. Now, because there are no ideologies, like we have already said, people just come together. The only purpose why they are coming together is to get power. That is one. Second thing, talking about if opposition parties come together, they can take over power. I don't buy into it. A lot of people have talked to me about that coming from the 2023 elections, and if Labour Party had just worked with PDP and both of them put together, it's like 14 million votes against PDP. See, it is not just about changing who is in power. It's what are you replacing, or with whom are you replacing that person? You can't change same for same. There's no reason for that change. That's my personal opinion. That if you are going to have a change, then let it be that we are moving from the people who believe in this to the one that believe in this. You get my point?
Yes.
That is what I say. So it is not just about coming together just for the sake of grabbing power. It is who is the person. If you tell me, I may not want to just mention name. You say Buhari was not a very effective leader for 8 years. Therefore, let's come together and just remove Buhari or whatever. And I'm going to ask and replace him with who? If the person you are proposing to replace Buhari with, in my opinion, is the same as Buhari, why should I join you? Just like we have Tinubu today. Who are you presenting to replace Tinubu? If we say let's come together as a coalition just to remove power. So I say that you cannot replace same with same. You can't replace that. That doesn't work for me. Now, is it possible for all the political parties, all the opposition political parties to come together? It's not possible. There will always be opposition. Opposition is part of governance. Yeah. When we get to a point, forget about the fact that anytime opposition says something, the government, it is the job of the opposition to raise issues. The government is to come and defend. It also helps the government to think a little deeper. If all of us agree and we are all in agreement, we are all in one party, there cannot be progress. Somebody have to be checking what you are doing and suggesting ways to do it better, and also making you think about what you want to do before you do, not just going around. For example, the supplementary budget. If the opposition and other civil society group did not raise all the things that we raised concerning the supplementary budget, we would have been talking of a yacht, presidential yacht in this economy, even though a lot of other things
are still there. And we know what they did with that yacht.
I know that now,
but at least we saw it.
At least we saw government coming to deny that. No, it's not like that. It's not. If nobody said anything about it. Right now, Governor Oti of Abia State has all his people all over the media and everywhere trying to defend
the new budget.
That, not even the budget, the report
of the mill,
and all of that. And it's good. We are talking about it. Other people will be learning from it. Other people will say, come on, let's check. We are hearing of 7-point-something million for perfume, for this in Lagos, for whatever. We are talking about them. Why? Because the
opposition
is there. Opposition brings it because you too you want to. We are looking for how Nigeria can be better, and that's how it is. You know, you mentioned something about President Obasanjo talking about democracy or whatever, yes, and all of that. That itself is a different thing entirely. I personally don't think democracy is the best form of government
for Africa or for Nigeria. And why do you say so?
Generally, I don't think so because the kind of democracy that we see around is just about elections. Elections after election. As we speak right now, we are already preparing for 2027
so after elections, whoever comes in power leads us in autocracy. Is that it?
No, it is that. See, it's not a popular opinion to canvass. It's not something that countries that have developed, that have moved from one level to the other, we should go and check them and see how many of them were actually developed by this brand of democracy that we are practicing. Every country that I know of that have moved from third world to second world to first world had a leader, not necessarily elected, but he had a vision, he had where he wanted to take his people. Then he had enough time to do that,
to implement.
But you see, this 4 years cycle, how much development can it really give us? So we just come, we do election, we are still in court over the last election. We are already preparing for 2027. The people that just won now are already preparing for their elections in 2027. So there is no time for them to think about the people, about governance. So whatever they are doing is in preparation, is to prepare them, put them in a position for the next election. That is why. And now, sorry.
I'll land your point.
Yes. My problem with Obasanjo, President Jonathan, and all of them talking about all of this is that when they had power to make some changes, what did they do? Because anybody who is in power today under this type of democracy will not want it to change. I hope you've noticed that.
Yes.
This same
that is
opposition,
why there has been some attacks on
this
him.
Same opposition, when they were in opposition, proposed a lot of structural reforms.
Yeah.
Why have we not seen them now that they for the past 8 years, going to 9 years now that they have been in power? It is now in their favor. You must now keep the status quo. You keep it like this because it profits you. How many people will come and change things that will work against them in their favor? You get? That's my point. My point is that yes, they may be making a good point, but the people who have the power to make those changes now will not do it.
Will not want to change because it benefits them. And as long as it benefits them, it has to be there until we move.
There has to be a different way to change that.
To change it, not because the people in power will not effect that change, even as much as we know that.
They will not.
Yes, the state of affairs, we need that change right now. We'll continue this conversation with lots more to talk about. Please do stay with us. Let's go on a quick break and we'll be right back.
In this 21st century where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source.
Many thanks. It's good to know you're still there. You're still watching Viewer Exclusive on Viewer Television. I'm still in conversation live in the studio with Mr. Ernest Ogbebor, and he's giving us his analysis on state of the nation affairs. Now let's go over to okay, first before I ask the question on the judgments, let me get your views and your take on the past off-cycle elections, the conduct of the elections. What's your take on those elections that were run in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states?
My take is that, honestly speaking, on the 11th of November, that election was taking place, I didn't even give it any attention at all. Unlike maybe previous, even if it's
you had no expectations.
There was nothing to expect. Why? Because I have seen a situation where we have gone backwards in terms of development in our electoral system and all of that. So it was not surprising for me to hear later that there were pre-filled result sheets, because we have seen from the 2023 general elections how impunity have taken over, how power is being used, and the people who do manipulations and all of them, they are completely in charge. They are emboldened to do even more. In 2023 general elections, I'm not sure we had the issue of pre-filled election results. There were manipulations of the result after the election. Everybody was trying to say accredited voters must be equal to the vote cast and all of that. So by the time we took all those things into the judiciary, through the judicial system, and everybody saw how all of those things were thrown away, it was like, why were we even worrying ourselves too much about accreditation on beavers compared to physical vote? It didn't matter again. And that's why you could see people filling results without minding.
So it emboldened whatever was going to happen in this off-cycle election.
And it did show. It did show. We saw in the general elections how people were stopped from accessing polling unit, and it did not matter when we went to court or when we started talking about the election. It was that those who won succeeded in making sure that other people did not come out to vote. So that once that did not be, it was not an issue for discussion. Then what did you expect? So they now took it to the next level. And so this next level is that even the people who used to gain from vote buying even lost, because they didn't need you anymore to even come and give you the 1,000, 2,000 they used to buy your vote before. They didn't need you. They just completed the result sheet. Pushed it in, and
2007 has been the elections that Nigerians have been saying have been the worst so far. In comparison to this, did we get worse?
I don't know whether there is any basis of comparison, because you will say that we're making progress.
But now we went all the way back.
All the way
back. So it
back.
has taken us even behind 2007.
All the way back, I can tell you. All the way back. My personal opinion, like I keep saying, there is nothing. Now, what we used to talk about voter apathy and the rest of them, people not coming out to vote, and so we began to see a lot of an increase in participation from ordinary people, from the youths and all of that. With what has happened 2023 elections and the off-cycle election we just had a few weeks ago in Bayelsa, Imo, and this thing, a lot more people are now convinced that there is no need for participating in this process anymore.
Okay, so still on the electoral process and the matters, the judgment that was passed in Kano State, right? And we know what transpired after that, the discrepancies in the CTC document and all of that. What's your take on that? Do we think can we really make sense of that being a typographical error? And in that level, should we even expect, we know we're human, there's human error, should we even expect that we can have things like those kind of clerical errors in such a document as that?
See, we have come to a point. I will be seen as being cynical, as it were, right now, and all of that. When wrongdoings, misbehaviors stop having consequences, the society is in trouble. Incompetence, no consequence, the society is in trouble. And that is where we are. And that was my fear. I've expressed it earlier, going through the elections, tribunals and the rest, and seeing what people did, talking about the evidence you are showing that this thing was, this person did this, you are bringing it late, it didn't come on time. And I'm like, you are making bad behavior not to have consequence anymore in our society. And that is what we have. The chief registrar of that court, the appeal court, had come out to say it was a clerical error. And everybody will say, anybody can make mistake. It's a human error. My dear, there are errors that are unpardonable.
Yeah.
By now, heads should be rolling. Somebody signed that document. The most critical part of that 67 or 68 page document is that portion. And you sign it without checking respondent, appellant, whether they have been properly matched. So what did you do? The chief judge who signed it, after it was printed and all the rest, if you couldn't even read all the other parts, I expect that you go to just that page where the verdict is and cross-check. If the clerk who prepared it, the registrar missed it, all of this, but have you heard anything?
Nothing.
Rather, they will release another one and say, this is the correct one. And we would move on. Square pegs in round holes. You may even be a round peg in a round hole, but this is an error that in sane societies, you are not going to wait. Whether it was your subordinate who did it or whatever, but you are the one who signed it, you honorably, if your resignation will mean anything, no. But in Nigeria here, nothing. It's just going to go on.
Do you think that
like
the judiciary is compromised? And do you think that they are interfering a lot in our democracy and elections?
You see also, when you say the truth about an issue, it doesn't matter how many times you are asked. You don't even need to remember what you said before. Because what you said is true. When you are asked 1,000 times, you are not going to think, okay, what was my response to this question? You will just say it.
Yes.
Now, but when you have manipulated your answer before, you need to keep a record of it so that when you are asked again, you can remember what you said. In this country, on a lighter note, in this country, I have seen people during interviews that have so manipulated their age that there is no room for primary school education between when they were born now and their age and when they got their degree, which they cannot change the date of those certificates. So you read. Then you have to always remember the year that you have quoted as your birthday, birth month or year and all of that. But if it were true, you don't need to think. Anytime they ask you, you say the same thing. That's what has happened to the judiciary. Because I won't be surprised. I'm not a lawyer. I don't operate in the judiciary. People, of course, even the retired justice of the Supreme Court have also already told us people are buying judgments. So when you sell judgment, it means that you are working now from answer. So you prepare your there must be error. There will be issues. So we are not. I'm not surprised, and I may not have evidence. Nobody, but what is obvious, what we can see, clearly shows us that the judiciary is not above board.
It's not
And
above.
that is, and that's the truth. That's what it is. So with respect to this Kano appeal court judgment, with respect to the Kano governorship election, that issue was too serious for a state like Kano. We know the composition of Kano in terms of the no, for anybody not to have given 101% attention to that thing, to treat it with the level of levity and come and just explain it as a clerical error. No,
it should be.
We should be. These are things that we should go above in this country.
Yeah, there are some critical issues that we should do here. We don't hear it happen in other climes. So why should we hear that happen here? There's a lot we can continue to talk about, but unfortunately we are running out of time. It is always wonderful to have you around, Mr. Ernest, on the show. And that's all we can take on Viewer Exclusive for this episode. Until I come your way again, on behalf of myself and the entire crew, have a lovely week.